And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, I know it's a cliche to say this, but there's a new sheriff in town now that former Assemblyman Bill Essayli is a U.S. attorney, and he is opening up a task force to investigate all of the rotten homeless spending in Southern California, specifically in Los Angeles County.
That's going to be like shooting fish in a barrel.
I never thought I'd see something like this, but even though Bill Essayli was a very vocal member of the assembly, couldn't really do anything because he's in a super minority, now he gets this job, and he might actually be able to put some of these crooked people in prison.
Well, and Bill Essayli, don't forget, before he became an assemblyman, was a prosecutor. And even though he didn't have power to impact anything in Sacramento, his day job was to keep an eye on what was going on in California. So even though he's a brand new U.S. attorney, it's not as if he comes into this job without a knowledge base. He knows where the bodies are buried. He knows where to look. And it looks like that's exactly what he's going to do.
For more on Bill Essayli opening up a task force to investigate the billions of dollars that we can't account for in homeless spending in Los Angeles County, here's Fox 11.
A federal task force has been formed to investigate possible fraud and corruption.
I don't even know if we need to say possible.
No, it's fraud and corruption.
How else can you explain it?
There's no other way.
Involving homelessness funds across Southern California.
What's so funny is everyone knows this is going on. Everyone sees that all of this money we've spent, especially over the last 10 years, hasn't done a damn thing. Yet Los Angeles County voted to double the homeless tax.
Well, and this is particularly threatening to Karen Bass and the LA County Board of Supervisors, because they're the ones that direct money to all these organizations. And I would throw in former LA Mayor Eric Garcetti as well. They know when they kick money to these organizations, the money's going to their cronies, and some of that money is coming back to them or other politicians who had something to do with those grants and those dollars going to those organizations. You're going to hit just about everyone in town if you start going through the books of these organizations. And the mayor and the Board of Supervisors and Barbara Ferrer and all of these people that we talk about on a regular basis are going to have to figure out a way to shut this down. And do not forget, when Gavin Newsom vetoed legislation that would audit money spent on these homeless organizations, he did it not just to protect himself, but he did it to protect his allies. Because if they allowed honest audits of where this money was going, they know what the result would be. So his answer was, let's just not know. Well, now that Bill Essayli is the U.S. attorney, as you said, Randy, there's a new sheriff in town.
Involving homelessness funds across Southern California. It's
so funny that this task force is supposed to examine Ventura and Orange County and Riverside and San Bernardino and Los Angeles, but we know where the investigation really is going.
Oh, yes.
Notice how it's the same geographical area, but 99% of all the homeless in Southern California are in one county?
Well, because that's the county that gives them all of the services and tells the cops to look the other way when they break the law.
It's being led by the brand new U.S. attorney, Bill Essayli. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf spoke to Essayli today. He's live for us in downtown L.A. Matthew.
Well, Alex, a lot of people wonder about all of that money and if it's being spent the way it's supposed to be.
It's not.
And we know that, too.
Well, we could have some answers here pretty soon. The most visible crisis across California, now the target of a federal investigation.
We will investigate and look at the facts and determine whether any laws were broken.
Newly sworn-in U.S. Attorney Bill Essayli announcing what he calls a homelessness, fraud, and corruption task force, looking into
I love that name.
Well, because that's pretty much good morning, good afternoon, good night.
Looking into billions of dollars of homeless funding spent across Southern California and possible fraud, abuse, and corruption.
Despite all the money spent and the audits conducted, there's billions of dollars unaccounted for. Local and state officials cannot give us answers.
A recent independent audit found that LA officials could not accurately track down about $2.3 billion in spending for homeless services.
Oh, we just couldn't figure out where it went. We just lost it.
Maybe it's in the couch cushions.
It's so funny. That's double what the LA budget deficit is.
A recent independent audit found that LA officials could not accurately track down about $2.3 billion in spending for homeless services.
So one more quick question.
As a result, last week, LA County voted to stop funding LAHSA, leading to the resignation of CEO Dr. Valisa Adams-Kellum.
And let's not all forget one of the reasons she resigned, even though she won't admit it, is because she got caught with her hands in the cookie jar. She was writing checks from LAHSA to her husband's nonprofit.
Where you get in trouble is when the money finds its way back to you. And if the money goes to your husband's organization, my guess is the money found its way back to you.
How does $2 billion just go missing?
It doesn't, and we're going to find out where it is.
The number of homeless on the streets is increasing with every...
Hey, that's John Alley. I know that voice.
The number of homeless on...
Last time we heard from him, he was heckling Karen Bass at MacArthur Park.
I remember that.
The number of homeless on the streets is increasing with every dollar we spend.
Santa Monica business owner John Alley supports the new task force.
It's hidden money and it's paybacks. I believe people will end up in jail.
Along with LA County, the task force will investigate Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties.
How many homeless do we have in SLO?
I bet you they'll find corruption in some of those other counties, too. Because what you do is you just copy what they're doing in L.A., and I guarantee you they're doing it in Oakland and in San Francisco, too.
There are about 75,000 homeless people in L.A. County compared to about 20,000 in the others combined.
Every single one of those other counties combined doesn't even make up a third of Los Angeles County.
Think about the number of elected officials who came from running one of these organizations, who made so much money from doing that they could finance a campaign for office that ultimately ended up being successful.
You have Nithya Raman, who ran for city council twice now. She comes from a homeless nonprofit. And, of course, John's favorite example is former Congresswoman Katie Hill, who made so much money from a homeless nonprofit, not only could she run for Congress, she could also support 3 mouths. You know, for feeding on the table.
Thank you for that clarification.
We're going to have the best prosecutors, the best agents on this.
LA Mayor Karen Bass responding, telling Fox 11, our focus is on outcomes and saving lives.
Really? How you doing on that? 7 people a day in Los Angeles.
Yet she thinks she's successful.
The number has actually gone up since Karen Bass took office. And interestingly enough, the number has gone up since the policy was give Narcan to everybody all the time.
Keep it up, Mother Goose.
LA Mayor Karen Bass responding, telling Fox 11, our focus is on outcomes and saving lives. Last year, Los Angeles bucked national increases with a 10% decrease in street homelessness.
Yet nobody believes that. Again, it's a rounding error because they reported a 10% decrease in the city, but the number in the county didn't change at all. It changed by 200. So did people really move inside? I don't think so. Total, to date, in 2.5 years, Inside Safe has put maybe 2,000 people in motels, and they were supposed to move on to something else. They just stay in the motels, and you wonder why the city's $1 billion in the hole.
If she thinks she's going to wiggle out of this by declaring Los Angeles to be a success story in regard to homelessness, she's just as nuts as Pamela Price.
A spokesperson from California Governor Gavin Newsom's office says we share the federal administration's goal of ensuring taxpayer funds are being used effectively to get people off our streets.
Yeah, that's a bunch of BS.
No, you don't. You vetoed a bill that would audit where that money went.
That was a bipartisan bill that he said, screw you to.
And you know the only reason they voted for it is because the state legislature doesn't have anything to do with it. If they got a cut, no way that would pass.
It's a humanitarian crisis. It's a public trust crisis. And, and I think we deserve answers.
At what point is Los Angeles going to stop giving these people more money?
Oh, as soon as they start going to prison.
I mean,
which is going to happen.
Not only was Measure A successful, you look at the last election before that, where they passed Measure ULA, which was what they called a mansion tax, which turns out any commercial property now is taxed at a rate that's so high that it has killed investment in real estate. It has killed people wanting to sell or move or buy, and all that money was supposed to go solve the homeless problem.
This could be the knockout blow to Karen Bass, because basically she was running on the success of her Operation Inside Safe and her likability and managing the Olympics coming here in a few years. If suddenly the Olympics starts to fall apart, which it is, we're already seeing that with Santa Monica, and her popularity goes at the toilet because of the fires, and it's now established that not only were her homeless programs not successful, but they were one great big boondoggle to shovel money to all of her cronies. That's it for her. Her career is done. You could say goodbye to re-election.
He says he's going to use any and all tools, including search warrants. It sounds like all this is going to start very soon. Reporting live.
You know what's funny, too, is Bill Essayli's going to get in there. He's going to talk with his colleagues that have been working at the U.S. Attorney's Office in this district for a while, and he's going to find out about all the active open investigations into so many of these people, as we know has happened year after year after year in the L.A. City Council.
Oh, and because even though L.A. is the second largest city in the country, it's still kind of a small town. We've been aware of many of these open investigations on many of these public officials for some time now. And we're aware of investigations that are going on about officials that haven't even been announced yet. If we're aware of it, I guarantee you he knows about all of them. And if he knows about all of them, he knows where to start looking.
Reporting live tonight, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
Yeah, Matthew, regular viewers of our show may recognize Bill Essayli. He was just in the assembly with the Republicans, where he made news a lot but didn't have almost any power. He was part of the super minority. Now President Trump has appointed him, and he's got some real power now.
Yeah, definitely. We were actually asking him today about his relationship with President Trump. He said he met him when President Trump was here to look at the fires.
When he dressed down Karen Bass.
Oh, yes, and Karen Bass lied to him and said that they were going to get all those homes rebuilt quickly. And then the moment he left, she said, oh, yeah, it's going to take about 5 years.
Actually, President Trump asked for his business card. So it sounds like they're definitely trying to start some sort of working relationship right now.
Yeah, he's been very pro-Trump, and I think the president likes that, and he certainly rewarded him with a very big job. All right, Matthew, thank you so much.
So there's the latest. Bill Essayli moves out of the assembly and into a very powerful position where he is going to be investigating some of our favorite people.
No, thank you.
Hey, can we start with Homeless Healthcare Los Angeles, the organization that the city and the county and the state have been funding to pass out meth pipes on Skid Row?
Could you imagine what kind of shenanigans are going on there?
I mean, look what the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI just announced a few weeks ago, where the owner of a nonprofit that was supposed to get kids out of the gang life turned out to be the head of one of the biggest gangs in L.A.
So here's how this is going to work. There are just certain things that are ubiquitous, certain things that you just know are true, but people don't blow the whistle because it's not polite. You have worked in politics with all of these people for years and years and years, and this one gets termed out of that office and needs a job. This one goes for higher office and loses an election, and they need some place to land. This person is a consultant that helped a lot of people get elected, and they have to find ways to take care of one another. And whenever there is a crisis, whenever there is a subject that is top of mind, that's an excuse to raise and spend money. Now, depending on what year you're dealing with, that subject matter will change. If you go back to the 1980s and 1990s, everyone was worried about crack cocaine, everyone was worried about drive-by shootings, and a lot of organizations popped up to deal with those subjects. You go back to the early 1980s and Ronald Reagan, it was AIDS, and the AIDS organization started popping up right and left. They're causes. They're things that people care about. They're top of mind. They are deeply involved with the news cycle, and people look at these issues and they say, okay, Here's a problem. Let's find a solution. Let's all kick in. Let's all spend money. Let's all feel good about ourselves, and let's try to move the ball forward. And then you have people who say, okay, yes, that's great, but we need to find our way to take a cut. And those people just need a cause. They need to attach themselves to a cause. And they bounce from one cause to another cause to another cause, and they take their cut of the loot. Sometimes the cut that they take is a perfectly legitimate cut, and it's commensurate with what you would expect for someone who works in that industry. And sometimes they get gross. And when no one's looking, they're more likely to get real gross than if people are paying attention. And you think about the environment that exists in Los Angeles right now, in San Francisco and Oakland and Sacramento and all over the state, where you have one-party rule, so there is no viable opposition party. The California Republican Party is a shell of itself, and they don't have the time, money, or resources to keep an eye on these things. Then you have the news media. Well, the newspapers have all been gutted with budget cuts, so investigative reporters that would be digging into stories like these no longer exist in any sort of real way. Then you have the good government types, the good government activists who are supposed to keep an eye on these things, the watchdogs. Those people are totally overwhelmed. They don't have the ability to do it. So right now you have a cause with homelessness that everyone agrees is a crisis. You have a population that is willing to tax itself into oblivion to spend money on that crisis. And then you have one-party rule which can take that money and can spread it among each other, and they have to keep the crisis going, so they keep the gravy train going, they keep the money coming in, they keep the taxes going up, they never solve the problem, and they all get rich for a very long time. The moment you start turning stones over with something like that, you're going to find all kinds of illegal activity. And this is going to become like calling holding in the NFL or calling fouls in the NBA. If you're a regular NBA viewer or regular NFL viewer and you watch it closely, you know you can blow the whistle and call a personal foul just about every time the ball goes down the court. You just pick and choose. If they hit the guy real hard, you blow the whistle. If it's a little love tap, you just let it go. It's incidental contact. And what's going to happen now is a lot of people are going to get in a lot of trouble. And my guess is they're going to try to find patterns of who gets thrown in jail. Guilt or innocence is not going to be questioned because I think they're all going to be guilty. What's going to be questioned and what's going to be in dispute is they're going to claim that they're being picked on. They're going to be picked on because of their party affiliation, their ideology, their race, their gender, their sexual orientation, and they're going to say that that's the reason that they were targeted. But guilt and innocence, that's not going to be in dispute here. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, if you want to subscribe to the podcast, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. Search for the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify, The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. Hey, you're either listening to us make fun of Pam Price, or you're just going to listen to Pam Price.
Bipping is back.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. And Randy, we're going on the road this Friday.
Just a couple of days from now, we're going to be in Long Beach for the Long Beach Grand Prix. We're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Gladstone's Long Beach, one of the best restaurants down there, and the 50th anniversary of the Long Beach Grand Prix. We're going to be live Friday, April 11th from noon to 3 for what they're calling Fan Free Friday. We're going to be broadcasting live from Gladstone's on the Rainbow Harbor in Long Beach. Now, Fan Free Friday is free, but it's a ticketed event, and you have to have a ticket in order to get into the area where Gladstone's is. Where do you get these tickets? Well, apparently they're available at O'Reilly Auto Parts, King Taco, or participating 7-Elevens if you're trying to get a free ticket. Call first so you're not trying to get all over town. But we're going to be there. I know it's going to be really, really, really trafficy and a lot of road closures. So if you can make it, great. If not, we'll see you at the next one. But we're going to be at Gladstone's Long Beach this Friday from noon to 3. And by the way, check out Gladstone San Diego and Seaport Village this fall.
All right. I want to revisit a discussion we had, I think it was last week, or maybe it was earlier this week, I forget, about the difference between a tax and a fee, because it's an important distinction that you need to know about, because various governments are trying to pull fast ones on us right now because they're broke. A tax is money that goes to the government so they can use it for whatever reason they want. Generally speaking, if you're talking about the state, you're talking about money that goes to the California General Fund. So, April 15th is tax day. If you earn money in the state of California, you pay an income tax to Sacramento. It's a tax. It's a percentage of your income that you have to pay to the state government. That money can be used for any purpose. The sales tax, if you go out and you buy an item at the mall and you pay sales tax, that money goes to the state of California, to the general fund. And if you live in a city or a county that has a tax, a sales tax tacked on, that money goes to that entity. A fee is something that's different. A fee is something generally associated with optional services that not everyone uses. In theory, everyone uses the roads. Everyone benefits from having state prisons. Everyone benefits from having state schools, K through 12 schools. But if you want to do something that the government subsidizes above and beyond the basics, you have to pay a fee to pay a disproportionate portion of the cost of running that service. So, for example, some cities have golf courses, municipal golf courses. You don't get to play for free even if you live in that city. You have to pay green fees, and those fees go to keep up the golf course. If you have a late fee on your library book, that money goes to the library because you benefited from being able to read the book. So if there's a fee associated, you, as someone who uses the library, has to pay that fee. If you use one of the state universities, you pay a fee for your tuition fees, because you're benefiting from that college degree should you finish the degree and graduate. You see how this works. Well, in San Diego, they're trying to get real funny with the definition of fee, because what it really is becoming is a tax. And Randy, we have those receipts.
In San Diego, they are trying to fill a massive budget shortfall. Not as big as Los Angeles, but they've got a big one. San Jose's got a big one. San Francisco's got a big one. Pretty much every major city in the state of California has a operating budget deficit. And San Diego's answer is, well, why don't we jack up parking fees?
Okay, again, fees are supposed to go to pay for the upkeep of the parking, to build new structures, to maintain those structures, to pay for meter maids, those sorts of things.
And LA's doing the same thing. In order to fix the $1 billion budget shortfall, the first idea coming out of the city of Los Angeles is jack up trash pickup fees for homeowners.
Well, there you go.
But for more on the parking fees going way up in San Diego, here's NBC 7.
There's now paid parking at Balboa Park and no more free parking on Sundays. Those are just some of the things.
What, isn't that like one of the oldest rules in the book? One of the nice things is you don't have to pay for parking on a Sunday?
Or holidays.
Those are just some of the things that city leaders are considering to help make up a $250 million budget shortfall.
NBC 7's Omari Fleming shows us why locals and business leaders are pushing back on the proposed plan.
Well, some people say those potential parking changes could mean an end to their Sunday fun day in some of San Diego's entertainment districts.
Yeah, so then if you're encouraging people to go out less because now they have to pay more for parking on a Sunday fun day, doesn't that mean less tax revenue down the line for a city like San Diego?
You'd think.
while some business leaders say those potential changes could really impact future growth as well as visitors to some of San Diego's most popular areas.
2, 1.
Construction on the new Pride Promenade in Hillcrest is moving along, but the head of the Hill...
Did the people who cut the ribbon at the Pride Promenade play Celebration as they cut the ribbon? Because that's the most cliched thing I've ever heard. Let me just double check this.
2, 1.
Construction on the new Pride Promenade...
Okay, if you have Kool in the Gang in your playlist in 2025, you need to rethink your life choices.
Update your playlist.
But the head of the Hill...
It's like the wedding DJ that play that funky music, white boy. What is wrong with you?
But the head of the Hillcrest Business Association says it never would have happened without money they saved from their share of the parking meter revenue from the city.
That's really going to make a big difference.
Benjamin Nichols worries future projects and maintenance could be in jeopardy because of the city's proposed parking changes. They include an end to free Sunday parking and slashing the percentage of meter money parking districts get from 45% to 15%.
So the money that's supposed to go for the parking improvements from the parking fees is now just getting redirected towards the general fund?
Well, they play these games all the time. When you pay your car tax, it's really a quote-unquote vehicle license fee. But that money does not go to the roads. It doesn't go to the bridges. It doesn't go for the transportation grid. It goes to the general fund. They raided that money, and they purposely mislead you.
Money that Hillcrest used for things like signage and sidewalk improvements, as well as the promenade.
If the money does go away, I think Hillcrest is really going to suffer. And we're essentially going to be helping to balance the city's budget without getting a community benefit. And I think that will really be a problem.
What do they do next year?
Well, they find a new place. They find a new pot to raid.
I mean, this is the problem with every single one of these cities. Los Angeles had a budget deficit last year, and so did we figure out what we were overspending on? No. We decide, we're going to use some one-time monies to fix this, and they raid the reserve fund, and now we have a bigger budget deficit. If you have an operating deficit and you're losing money every year, you have to make cuts. You cannot just keep jacking up the rates on everybody.
No, but Sacramento is no better. When the lottery was put on the ballot, we were told that the money would go to education, when in reality that money was raided and it essentially goes to the state general fund.
One of San Diego's crown jewels could also see parking changes. Meters, day passes, and other paid parking methods are being considered for the now free parking lots.
The Cultural Partnership would certainly prefer that parking remained at no charge.
The head of the Balboa Cultural Partnership says paid parking could create a revenue stream to help improve the park.
And it'll get a whole bunch of people to not go there anymore.
And for whatever reason, it sounds like Crocodile Dundee is in charge.
I can't tell if he is Australian or South African.
But he worries about the impact on visitors.
People will simply get uncertain about visiting the park. We have enough people now.
Yeah, I think you're right, Australian. Maybe New Zealand.
One of those countries.
Who maybe don't visit Balboa Park because they think parking is difficult.
The proposed changes are all part of the city's plan to help make up its more than $250 million budget shortfall. Already, most hourly parking rates have doubled to $2.50. The city's hoping to raise $100 million from parking changes.
That's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Look what's going on in the city of Los Angeles. The city of Los Angeles actually loses money on their parking enforcement.
And a lot of money, too. Not a rounding error, a substantial amount.
They spend $65 million more a year than they take in. And parking ain't cheap in L.A.
The city's hoping to raise $100 million from parking changes.
Well, they've really lost their minds.
They need to find other ways to cover that shortfall, not by putting it on their residents.
There are 5,700 parking meters in San Diego, according to the city, but none are in high-traffic neighborhoods like La Jolla and Liberty Station.
Before deploying enforcement of parking meters on Sundays in Hillcrest, they need to think about deploying enforcement of parking meters in Liberty Station.
No! You know what it's like to be in one of those neighborhoods where you don't have to pay for parking? It's a beautiful thing. In fact, that's one of the reasons people love Burbank. And now they're putting paid parking in Burbank. No one's going to go to Burbank if you have to pay the parking to go to Burbank. Everything closes at 10 o'clock.
Do you think that gentleman wore alligator skin boots to the press conference?
I do.
The Hillcrest Business Association asking city leaders to consider adding new meters in other neighborhoods to help level the playing field. Omari Fleming, NBC7.
Could we maybe look inward first and find out if there's anywhere we're wasting money in the city before we start jacking up the parking rates and adding even more parking meters?
Maybe that was one of Steve Irwin's relatives.
The proposed parking management plan will likely go to the city council for consideration in May.
There's the latest coming out of San Diego.
Do you see, Randy, that Steve Irwin's son is now an underwear model?
Oh, my.
Yeah, but the only animal he posed with was an eel.
You happy now?
Took me a while to get there, but I was going there. You see, the key is knowing where the destination is, because then the journey is a lot more fun. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Will writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com with a poem in the style of Karen Bass.
If you're feeling down, if you're feeling blue, let's get help for you.
To my surprise, I thought I'd get away with all my lies, but now it looks like I can't avoid my fraudulent ties. So in this rhyme, I must admit that I may just have to serve some prison time. It's pretty good.
All right, Randy, what do you say we go back down under? And by that, I mean to San Diego.
In San Diego, there is a homeless encampment outside of a condo complex that is both a giant pile of trash and on fire.
Nothing to see there.
Sure, people love paying those HOA fees.
Could you imagine? What's the planet that has the constant storm on it?
Is that Uranus? No, I think that's Venus.
Stop it. I guess San Diego is kind of like the planet with the constant storm, only it's a homeless encampment fire that never seems to be put out.
For more, here's Fox 5 in SD.
A growing homeless camp in City Heights neighborhood is worrying residents in a nearby condo complex.
So those concerns were heightened after a fire broke out at the camp just feet away from where they live. Our Delaney White joins us live near City Heights with what neighbors are saying. Delaney.
Yeah, good afternoon, Christina and Phil. Well, residents I spoke to in this City Heights neighborhood tell me this is not the first homeless encampment to pop up in the area, but it is causing a nuisance. Now, Caltrans has constructed a pretty effective fence over on this side of the freeway where we're standing. You can see it behind us. It's pretty tall and it's kept people out of the area. But on the opposite side of the freeway where that encampment is now, residents tell us the fencing project started, but it stopped before it reached their backyard.
Oh, come on, Caltrans.
Do better.
If you look over there right now, it's a pile of trash like you wouldn't believe.
It looks like...
Oh, no, we believe.
If you look over there right now, it's a pile of trash like you wouldn't believe.
It looks like the San Diego dump.
And you notice, by the way, the homeless always deny setting off explosions that start fires. You would think that every homeless person in all of California would have Lucille Ball drawn on eyebrows at this point.
Vance Collier has been living off of Orange Avenue in City Heights for more than 3 decades and says the growing encampments in the area are causing safety concerns and frustration.
I thought of all the cities, San Diego had a better handle on this than other places because they put that giant public site where you have to put your tent and you can't have the encampments. Why are we allowing this? Oh, that's right. It's one of those things where, oh, that's Caltrans land. We can't do anything about it.
Well, they had a great mayor in Kevin Faulkner, and then he turned out, and then they replaced him with that dancing buffoon.
Every time they cut through the fence, and they just trash the whole area.
It's very frustrating. I think it's true for anybody who lives in any one of these cities when there's just garbage all over the place.
Not unique to San Diego, but now a problem.
Collier tells us a few months ago a fire broke out.
Are we going to get to the point in a couple of years where San Francisco's the cleanest of all the big cities in L.A.?
San Francisco used to be the cleanest big city in America for a very long time until the homeless took over.
Yeah, but now they're rounding the corner when all the other cities are staying in place in the giant trash heap.
Collier tells us a few months ago a fire broke out in the encampment about 20 feet from his property.
Looks like a garbage dump on fire.
Gee, I wonder why it's so hard to get insurance.
If there was only something we could do to limit all of our liability.
Well, I noticed one of the things that State Farm asked for in that nonsense hearing that Ricardo Lara didn't show up to was a 38% in rental property insurance, because whoever owns that condo building can't do anything about the fact that there's a giant fire trash heap right outside that could burn down the whole establishment.
It's too bad the Chinese can't re-engineer the meth to get them to do something other than start fires when they're on it.
Looks like a garbage dump on fire.
Residents say they've reached out to the city, but the city says it's not their responsibility.
Nobody cares about this jurisdictional nonsense. Clean up the trash. It's in the city of San Diego. It doesn't matter if it's not Caltrans's land. If Caltrans isn't cleaning it up, you clean it up and send them the bill.
Caltrans is not even equipped to deal with something like this.
Residents say they've reached out to the city, but the city says it's not their responsibility.
Everybody's been sending out everything under the sun, even to the city of San Diego. And the city of San Diego said, no, it's Caltrans.
Collier says Caltrans built a tall fence on the...
You want people to inherently distrust government? Make that your response.
Whatever happened to the buck stops here?
Not anymore.